All right, this is Honors 11 for Wednesday, the 25th. Still using the importance of being earnest. So, just a reminder, let's not forget those Pride and Prejudice papers, people. I've graded, I don't know, a little over half of them. They're great so far. So, just try to get that to me as soon as possible, please. Okay? So, our previous assignment focused on jokes or rhetorical devices that Wilde used throughout the play. Hopefully, you kind of picked up on his sense of humor. Uses a lot of wordplay in the play to make his point or not make a point, to be serious or to be funny. It is called The Importance of Being Earnest. Okay, so just to give you a few examples, there's really only four of those on that slide that are going to pop up in the play. So paradox, inverted logic, puns, and epigrams, which might be a new one to you guys. So I wanted to go over a few of them just so you can see what they look like. So there's a couple of paradoxes in the reading that you did for today or yesterday, whatever you want to call it. There's one at the top of page 3 where Jack/Ernest says that he's in love with Gwendolyn and he's come to town to propose to her. And then Algie kind of snaps back, I thought you'd come up for pleasure. I call that business. So that's a bit of a paradox because it seems contradictory, but it really kind of has a little bit of truth to it, and that should sound familiar to you from Pride and Prejudice because marriage essentially was a business transaction. Okay, there's another paradox on page 6, right in the middle, right, where Algernon says the truth is rarely pure and never simple. And again, you would think that truth would be simple if you just tell the truth, okay? But usually there's a lot more to it than that. So there's a couple examples of a paradox. The next one, inverted logic. There's an example at the bottom of page 8 where we're told that this lady's hair has quite gone gold from grief. So, again, you think if someone, lost a loved one or they got divorced or something like that, their hair would turn gray. But in this instance, it actually turns gold. Okay, so that's a little bit of inverted logic there. Kind of reverse your expectations of things, and you'll see that throughout the rest of the play. Okay, at the top of page 5, there's a pun, which is usually just a play on words. That has a couple of meanings. So the whole little ant, big ant thing with Cecily, right, is a bit of a pun there. So, she's little because she's younger, okay, or she's tall because, she's a tall ant. So, again, just kind of a play on words there. It's supposed to be funny. And then the bottom of page 9, Oscar Wilde is particularly known for these things called epigrams, which is just a witty statement, usually about something going on in society or what people believe. So at the bottom of page 9, where they're talking about playing music, Algie says, you see, if one plays good music, people don't listen. And if one plays bad music, people don't talk. Okay, so if it's good, they're going to be interested. You would think they would be interested in it. Okay, but they're so bored with it that instead they don't bother listening to it. So again, be on the lookout for those. Those are kind of tough if you don't know a lot of background on Oscar Wilde. But I thought I'd point a few of those out. Okay, so moving on, our focus for this reading, which is just going to be pages 10 to 15. In this one, and we'll stop at where Algie shows back up, about right in the middle of the page if you got your text. Okay, so that's all we're reading today is just 5. So the materials for this one is obviously going to be our playbook, and then go back to that other PowerPoint, the Victorian PowerPoint. And if you scroll about halfway down, it talks about Victorian values. Okay. So as you're reading for today, I need you to find one example of each. I don't need exact quotes or anything, although you can use those. I'll leave that up to you, or you can just explain it to me in your own words. So I want to kind of go back to Pride and Prejudice a little bit here and talk about gender roles. Okay, so think about Mr. Darcy and Lizzie and everyone else that we met. So in this particular scene, you'll see that the gender roles have been switched or altered in some way. So see if you can pick up on that. It's the scene between Gwendolyn and Jack / Ernest. All right, so you're going to see that on page 10, okay, maybe into page 11. All right, so again, just find me an example, explain it the best you can, type it up, turn it in eventually. The next thing I need you to look for is how is materialism seen? So we know that that was something we focused on a little bit in Pride and Prejudice, but in this play, it's definitely a major theme. So how do we see that in the reading for today? The focus on materialism. Okay, and then the next one is how is the focus on respectability seen? All right, so think of ways that, you know, people earn respect. So without giving too much away, just be on the lookout for that. You should be able to find these no problem within this reading assignment. Okay, so just add that to maybe your previous document or whatever, and get that sent to me as soon as you can, please. All right, if you're missing anything else, you know, let me know. I've pretty much graded everything. As of yesterday, I pretty much had everything graded from last week. So if you're missing some things, just give me the heads up and tell me what I'm looking at so I can get you some points for that and get that in Skyward. Okay, and then just a little heads up for tomorrow. We're going to go back to that Victorian PowerPoint, and you're going to be looking at doubleness, and I'm gonna give you an article to look at, and hopefully you can kind of match those things up. All right, so that's for today, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Later.